They say the universe is silent, cold, vast, unfeeling. But our ancestors never saw it that way. When they looked upward, they did not see emptiness. They saw eyes. Eyes watching. Eyes judging. Eyes that could blink and change the fate of the world. Since the first sparks of fire lit human faces in the dark, we've watched strangers cross our skies. Not the slow, patient march of planets, but sudden visitors. Fierce, brilliant, blazing a trail across the heavens like a sword drawn in the night. Comets. To scientists, they are time capsules, frozen fragments from the dawn of our solar system, carrying the raw ingredients of worlds. But to prophets, they have always been something more. Messengers, heralds of change, bringers of endings and beginnings. And now, in the year 2025, a new messenger arrives. Its name is Comet 3I/Atlas, not born in the familiar cold at the edge of our sun's reach, but forged in a deeper darkness, the space between the stars. It has traveled uncounted ages to get here, carrying dust older than the Earth itself. Dust that once drifted in alien suns. Dust that has seen the death and birth of worlds we will never know. Astronomy tells us its speed, its orbit, its closest approach. We can map the mathematics of its journey, but prophecy listens for something else. A meaning, a purpose. The Hopi once spoke of the Blue Star Kachina, a celestial dancer that would appear before the world was renewed. Saint Hildegard saw a fiery sword across the night, a scourge and a purifier. Nostradamus wrote of a comet that would blaze before great kings fell. And so, as 3I/Atlas approaches, the question is no longer if it will pass. It is what it might leave behind. A sign, a warning, a promise. The sky has always been a mirror for the human soul. Sometimes, when we look up, we are not just seeing the universe. We are seeing ourselves. Perhaps Comet 3I/Atlas is not here to tell us what will happen. Perhaps it is here to ask us, when the next great change comes, will we be ready? In the sun-baked deserts of the American Southwest, there is a people who have kept their wisdom alive through centuries of wind, sand, and silence. The Hopi. Their prophecies have never been locked away in books or confined to dusty libraries. They live and breathe through ceremonies, sacred dances, and the quiet power of stories passed from one generation to the next. Among these ancient teachings, there is one prophecy that stands above the rest. A prophecy of endings and beginnings. A time when the earth will be cleansed, when what is false will be stripped away, and only what is true will remain. At the heart of this prophecy is a celestial figure, a mysterious, almost mythical being known as the Blue Star Kachina. The Hopi say, when the Blue Star Kachina makes its appearance in the heavens, the fifth world will emerge. This will be the day of purification. But the Kachina is no ordinary star. It is described as a dancer in the heavens, a cosmic performer whose every movement signals the unraveling of the old world. Its dance means the end of deception, the collapse of the corrupt, and a great shaking of the earth itself. Some Hopi elders tell us the Blue Star Kachina may in fact be a comet, a fire guest visiting our skies. Its tail glowing faintly blue, its icy heart burning brighter as it draws near the sun, scattering dust and gas in a shimmering veil. And now a question rises. Could Comet 3I/Atlas be this final dancer? It comes not from familiar paths, but from the vast, silent dark beyond our solar system. It arrives without warning, just as the prophecy says, from where no eyes had seen it before. As it nears the sun, its light could easily take on that ethereal, bluish hue. It would not simply pass by, it would announce. The Hopi tell of a moment when the final dancer will remove his mask. The unmasking is the last act, the end of one world, the birth of another. But this is not merely destruction. It is transformation. And transformation is never without pain. For the old world does not go quietly. It resists. It crumbles. It tries to hold on to what cannot be kept. The day of purification is not a single sunrise or sunset. It is a passage, a crossing between what humanity has been and what it must become. When the Blue Star Kachina dances in our skies, the Hopi say, we will be given a choice, to cling to the false and perish with it, or to walk into the fifth world humbled, renewed, and awake. Perhaps Comet 3I/Atlas is just a wanderer of ice and dust, or perhaps it is the dancer. And if it is, then the music has already begun. From the sun-baked mesas of Arizona, where red rock cliffs stand like ancient sentinels against the desert sky, we turn our gaze across an ocean and back in time nearly 1,000 years, to the cloistered stone walls of a Benedictine monastery in the Rhineland of medieval Germany. Inside those cold, echoing halls lived a woman whose mind and spirit seemed to bridge heaven and earth, Hildegard of Bingen. Mystic, composer, poet, prophetess. A woman whose visions, she claimed, were not dreams or imaginings, but divine revelations, seared into her soul by the will of God himself. Among the countless visions she recorded, there is one and only one that still chills the hearts of those who read it. In that vision, she saw a sky set aflame by the passage of a great comet. And in words that have echoed down the centuries, she wrote, "A great comet will come, by the will of God, to punish the world. It will shine with fiery brilliance and will strike terror into the hearts of men. Its tail will sweep across the sky like a sword." To Hildegard, this was not simply a lump of rock and ice wandering through the heavens. It was a celestial sword, an instrument of both scourge and purification. She believed it would cut away corruption like a blade through rotted wood. But in its cutting, it would also bring great suffering, famine, storms, and the downfall of kings. She warned that before its arrival, humanity would lose its moral compass, that leaders would become irredeemably corrupt, that the natural order itself would be violated, that faith would be mocked and the faithful persecuted. And when you look at the headlines of our own time, when you see political instability gripping nations, when you see economies buckling under the weight of greed and mismanagement, when you see the forests burn, the oceans rise, and the earth groan under the weight of our excess, it is difficult, frighteningly difficult, to dismiss the parallels. Now, far beyond the sight of human eyes, traveling at unimaginable speed from the darkness between stars, another visitor approaches. We call it Comet 3I/Atlas, the third interstellar object ever detected entering our solar system. To our ancestors, it might have been called the Sword of the Heavens, a blade of ice and fire slashing across the night sky. But Hildegard was not the only one who spoke of such a sign. Travel forward in time to the bustling, plague-shadowed streets of 16th century France. Here, by the glow of a candle in a dim study, sits a man with parchment before him. Mitchell de Nostradamus, the world would come to know him simply as Nostradamus. Physician, astrologer, visionary, a man whose writings have been pored over, debated, and feared for centuries. Among his hundreds of cryptic quatrains are several that speak of celestial omens, strange fires and blazing stars appearing before times of great upheaval. One in particular seems to echo Hildegard's warning. In the sky will be seen a great fire dragging a trail of sparks. It will cause famine, death, and the fall of great leaders. For Nostradamus, these fiery apparitions were never random accidents of nature. They were harbingers, signals that history was about to pivot violently, that thrones would topple, that empires would collapse, that wars would break like storms upon the earth. And once again, we are left with the same question. If Comet 3I/Atlas arrives in October 2025, bright enough to be seen with the naked eye, if it stretches a shimmering tail across our sky, what will humanity see in it? Will it be, to us, a breathtaking astronomical wonder? Or will it be taken as a sign, an omen, a warning from the Creator himself? History offers a sobering truth. When people believe the heavens are speaking, they act. And sometimes they act with fear, desperation, and reckless abandon. When Halley's Comet blazed across the sky in 1910, some panicked at rumors its tail carried poison gas. In the year 1528, a great comet was recorded over Paris, its fiery light so terrifying that chroniclers claimed the city was gripped by dread, believing war and plague were imminent. Even earlier, in the year 1066, a comet blazed above England just before the Norman invasion changed the nation's fate forever. Fear does not wait for facts. It moves hearts, shifts economies, and topples governments. And if the world of 2025 is already trembling with economic unrest, war, and political fragility, the sudden appearance of a comet like 3I/Atlas might be the match to the tinder. Not because the comet itself brings disaster, but because we humanity might bring it upon ourselves. So what, then, are we to make of Hildegard's comet? Of Nostradamus' trail of sparks? Of a possible sword of the heavens slicing its way through our October skies? Some will dismiss it outright superstition, they'll say. Others will point to the science. That a comet is simply frozen rock and gas, shaped by gravity, warmed by the sun, nothing more. But prophecy has a way of surviving skepticism. It lives not only in the words of the seer, but in the hearts of those who hear them. Because when the night comes, and you stand beneath a sky so wide and black it feels endless, and you see, with your own eyes, a brilliant, flaming streak drawing itself across the firmament, something deep inside stirs. Something ancient, a sense that we are small and that the heavens are vast, and that maybe, just maybe, they are trying to tell us something. Perhaps Hildegard's comet is not only a warning of destruction, but also a call to purification, a reminder that before the fire falls from the sky, we are given the choice to change, to turn from corruption, to restore the natural order, to honor the sacred instead of mocking it. Perhaps Nostradamus' sparks are not meant only to frighten, but to awaken, to shake us from the illusion that the world's empires, its markets, and its governments are eternal. They are not. They have risen, and they have fallen many times before. And maybe, just maybe, Comet 3I/Atlas is not a sword raised against us, but a mirror held up to our age. A reflection of our greed, our divisions, our abuses of the earth, and an invitation to decide whether we will continue down the same path or choose a different one. Because in the end, the most dangerous thing about a comet is not its icy nucleus or its blazing tail. It is the story we tell ourselves when we see it. Will it be the story of fear and collapse, or the story of awakening and renewal? The heavens have spoken before. They will speak again. The question is, will we listen? The ancient Maya, a people often remembered for their towering stone temples, intricate calendars, and mysterious glyphs carved deep into the bones of time itself. To the modern mind, their most famous date, December 21st, 2012, became a cultural flashpoint. Some feared it meant the end of the world, but the truth was far older and far wiser. To the Maya, that day was not destruction. It was transition. The turning of a great cosmic wheel. An ending, yes, but also a beginning. In the depths of their surviving records, beyond the popular myths, lie strange and potent symbols, visions carved into stone and painted on ancient codices. They speak not just of time, but of the sky's hidden messages. Among these, there are depictions of comets' long, winding shapes, like celestial serpents twisting across the night. In Maya belief, these were harbingers. The smoking stars, the serpent comets, signs that the balance of the world was shifting. Such events were not taken lightly. When a great comet appeared, it was as if a bell had been struck in the heavens, ringing out across centuries, warning, guiding, awakening. For the Maya, the heavens themselves were a clock. Every planet, every star, every rare visitor from beyond, a gear turning in a mechanism of unimaginable size. And when those gears aligned in unusual ways, the message was clear. A new chapter was beginning. Some modern interpreters of Maya timekeeping suggest that October 2025 may mark such a moment, that the cosmic clock may chime again. And in this view, Comet 3 I/Atlas is not just an astronomical curiosity. It is the marker of a doorway, a threshold between ages. From prophecy, we move to precision. Comet 3 I/Atlas is unlike almost anything we've seen before. It is an interstellar traveler, only the third of its kind ever detected. The first was Oumuamua in 2017. The second, 2I/Borisov in 2019. And now, this. It is not bound to our sun. It comes from the uncharted darkness between the stars. A messenger from a place we cannot yet map. Astronomers have calculated its path with painstaking care. In late October 2025, it will pass closest to the sun about 1.36 astronomical units away, drifting between the orbits of Earth and Mars. Its icy body, untouched for millions of years, will awaken under the sun's heat. Gases will erupt, streaming out into space, forming a long tail that may stretch for millions of kilometers. And from Earth, we may see it blaze, not from fire, but from sunlight reflecting off dust older than human history. Every shimmering particle a relic from another star system, a literal fragment of another world passing through ours. Science assures us there is no danger of impact. It will not strike our planet. But not all impacts are physical. Some leave marks on the human soul. As Comet 3 I/Atlas approaches, the Earth it will gaze upon is trembling. We live in an age of political instability, alliances fracturing, new powers rising, old empires leaning over the edge. An age of environmental crisis, forests burning, seas rising, storms reshaping coastlines, and weather turning strange, as if the planet itself were restless. An age of technological upheaval, artificial intelligence, genetic engineering, and surveillance redefining not just our societies, but the very meaning of being human. And an age of spiritual unrest, faith questioned, traditions abandoned, morality redefined in 1,000 conflicting voices. In such a time, when the night sky blooms with the light of an alien visitor, it will not just be a comet, it will be a mirror. Humanity will see in it what it most fears, or what it most longs for. Some will call it a warning from God, a blazing sign of judgment. Others will call it the universe's whisper to awaken. And some will dismiss it as coincidence. Yet even they may feel a quiet unease when they glance upward, alone, under the stars. We are not the first to look to the sky in wonder and dread. The Maya did it. The Babylonians. The Chinese astronomers. The prophets of Israel. All saw the heavens as a living script written not in words, but in fire and shadow. And maybe, just maybe, Comet 3 I/Atlas is a new line in that script. A line we are meant to read. Because a comet is more than ice and dust. It is a time capsule from a place our spacecraft have never reached. It is a messenger bearing materials older than our sun. And in the language of prophecy, it is a threshold. When we stand outside this October and see it faint at first, then growing brighter night by night, we will be looking at something that has traveled perhaps 1,000,000 years to meet our gaze. it will not linger long. Its path will carry it back into the deep, silent gulf between the stars. And who knows when, or if, another such messenger will pass this way again. But the question we must ask is not what is it? The question is, why now? Perhaps the Maya were right that time itself moves in great cycles, each marked by signs in the sky. Perhaps Comet 3I/Atlas is not here by accident. Perhaps its arrival is the chime of the cosmic bell, calling us to remember who we are, where we came from, and what we are becoming. One day, the comet will be gone. The news headlines will fade. And yet, for some, the memory of looking up will remain. A moment when the night was alive, when the universe seemed close enough to touch. Whether you see it as an omen, a miracle, or just a beautiful accident, it will be, without question, a reminder. A reminder that we are not alone in the great dark, that we are part of something vast and ancient, something still unfolding. And maybe October 2025 will be remembered not for the comet itself, but for how we changed when we saw it. The tale of a comet. It is not a solid thing, not a sword of steel, not a whip of fire. It is dust, countless tiny grains, each one reflecting the light of a distant sun. And yet for thousands of years we have looked at that shining tail and seen omens. Prophets called it a whip, a sword, a river of flame. But maybe its truest message is not destruction. Maybe it's memory. Every comet is a time capsule, a frozen witness. The ice within Comet 3I/Atlas has not changed since before our sun was born. When we see it when it burns its way into our skies in October 2025, we are looking at the oldest material our human eyes have ever witnessed. This is matter from before time, before the first sunrise, before Earth even existed. And so it carries a weight, a gravity not of mass, but of meaning. Prophets across ages and continents have seen two faces in the coming of a comet. One is doom. The other is cleansing. The end of what is false. The return to what is true. The Hopi called it the Blue Star Kachina, the final dancer before the world is renewed. Its arrival, they said, marks the end of an age and the start of another. Saint Hildegard, in visions of fire and light, named it the sword of the heavens, cutting away corruption so that life may heal. Nostradamus wrote of it as a herald, a fiery sign under which great kings would fall and proud cities would burn. The Maya spoke of cycles and comets as markers of their endings and beginnings, the close of one world, the birth of the next. Perhaps they are all right. Each prophecy a different side of the same truth, because change rarely comes quietly, and renewal is almost always born through fire. When Comet 3I/Atlas streaks across our skies, it will be easy to treat it like any other passing wonder, to take a photograph, to post it online, to say, "Look, wasn't that beautiful?" and then to move on. But for those who still hear the old voices, it will not be just a comet. It will be a mirror, a warning that we cannot continue as we are, a promise that cleansing comes before renewal. The ancient teachers tell us, signs in the heavens are not for the heavens. They are for us. The fire-born traveler comes from the darkness between worlds. It carries no weapon but light. And yet, that light will cut deeper than any sword, not into stone, not into steel, but into the soul of humanity itself. It will remind us of what we have forgotten, of the fragility of our little world, of the ways we have traded truth for convenience, and wisdom for noise, because comets are not just celestial bodies. They are questions written in ice and dust. The question is not, what will the comet do? The question is, what will we do when we see it? Will we dismiss it as superstition? Will we drown its meaning in the chatter of 1,000 distractions? Or will we pause, look up, and remember? Because in that brief moment, as 3I/Atlas blazes its ancient light into our skies, we will be standing between two eternities. Behind us, billions of years of silent history. Before us, the unwritten chapters of what comes next. And maybe, just maybe, this is why comets return. Not only to mark the passing of time, but to invite us to choose what kind of story we will tell next. The Hopi would say, the Blue Star Kachina is dancing. Hildegard would say, the sword is raised. Nostradamus would say, the kings are trembling. The Maya would say, the wheel is turning. But I say, perhaps all of them are speaking to the same truth, that in the heart of the fire-born traveler, there is not only judgment, but mercy. Not only an ending, but a beginning. We are the generation that will see it, the ones who will stand under its silver light and feel the weight of time pressing against our skin. The comet will not tell us what to do. It will not force our hand. It will only arrive. The choice will be ours, to turn away or to be changed. Remember this. The tail of a comet is not a weapon. It is light scattered through dust, light that has traveled for millions of years just to reach us. And when it does, it will ask us, without words, what will you do with the time you have left?